Shemai friendly hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Caitlin Anwin for anyone who's new here, and let's get back into building in Planet Zoo. And today I'm going to do some guest facilities, and I noticed I had this big space on this path area connecting to the zoo entrance, and I thought it kind of looked like a pier because I had placed it down using the aligned grid, so it was very square, and I just wanted to add some shops in this area to encourage the guests to come down this side of the map instead of going to the other side of the map where the majority of the habitats are for now. And the regular shops were just a little bit too big, especially because this is literally right in the corner of the entire map. You can see the little white dots indicating that that's the end of the map. So it's right in the corner, so I needed something really small. So I used the counter spaces, and it was actually a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be, placing these counters down. Because if you delete certain parts of the path, it'll curve, like have the curved corners instead of the squared corners. So it was a little bit tricky trying to get everything to stay nice and square and have the counters slotted in the pier. I didn't want them on the edges because there wasn't really much room for it, and I kind of wanted it to feel like the guests were walking around the pier in like a kind of market. But the easiest way I found to keep the squared edges was to keep a square path piece that was aligned to the grid next to the piece where I wanted to add a counter. I wanted the shops to be like seaside carnival type food items. So I picked the hot dog squad because I thought like sort of street food type markets. Also picked slushies because slushies are a nice cooling, refreshing drink as well as being quite fun. And you usually get like slushies and things like that in places like food festivals. I used to love going to food festivals and getting like shaved ice or a slushie. And I also wanted kind of sweet things as well, so we got like refreshing and savory food, and I wanted a couple of sweet things as well. So I went with the Cosmic Cow Milkshakes just for a little bit of fun, and Bernie's Bakes Cupcakes as like a sweet treat kind of donut shop. I know we do have a donut shop, but we don't have a donut counter. But I went with more like American centered type of food, because if we were like on a pier in the UK, it would more than likely be like fish and chips and cockles. That's the type of things we would find on a pier. But we do have like sweet treats as well. We would have a candy floss, cotton candy, and sticker rock. Don't know whether you would actually have it in any other country. Is this a UK thing? It's like a hard sweet in like a cylinder shape with a pattern on the inside, so it'll either have like a fruit shape like for the flavor of the, or it'll have like writing of the place that you're at. So if you got a sticker rock from Barry Island, you could have Barry Island written in the sticker rock. And they start off like mint, but you can have lots of different flavors and colors. I just realized that I just completely got distracted by food. I recently used this little market stall on wheels for outside of my I'd Rather Eat Cake bakery, and I thought it was really cute, but it doesn't necessarily like match with the food market theme, but it does work as like a cover for the counter itself. So I will end up like customizing each one of these little market stalls. Thought I would go with like more of a modern style barrier for the pier as well, just to match in with the modern style of the entrance building. So I went with glass walls for the fence, but to match it in with the base of the path, I'm using the Planet Zoo wood panels, the flexi color ones. And I always like say what style that I'm using, because it can get like really tricky to scroll through so much that is in the game, especially if you've got the DLCs as well. You don't want to be sitting there scrolling and scrolling looking for the one little item that I've used. So I'll tell you the theme or the style of the objects, so you can go into the filter next to the search bar. Will help you filter out items that you don't necessarily want to see. So if you want everything that is flexi color, you can select that, or you can select a theme that I've mentioned, like New World, Planet Zoo, East Asia. But you can also search for different DLCs or just show base game, and you can also search for different materials as well. So you can search for all glass items, all wood items. If you're looking for types of fabrics, you can search for organic. But yeah, the filter is probably one of my favorite things to utilize while building, because you really don't want to be scrolling through thousands of different items. It feels like thousands anyway. And just to let you know, I will be taking a break next week from speed builds. I might do a short, I'm not sure whether I'll have enough time, but I've got a really busy week next week away from all of this. I won't have time to get everything sorted, ready for building, so I'm going to be taking a week off, which will be quite nice. I haven't had a break in a while anyway. Give me a little bit of time to figure out what type of build I want to do next. But it is Pride Month starting next week as well, because it's June, so I would like to do some, or at least one, Pride themed build, because last year's went really well, and I love celebrating Pride anyway. I have a couple of ideas already, but if you have any ideas that can kind of go with like habitat, maybe? I prefer to do habitats than shop builds, because we are literally doing a shop build now. I'd like to have a little break in between. I think it'll be really fun to do something Pride with like lots of colour, rainbows, even if it's a specific Pride thing as well. I have recently done my own specific Pride thing for asexual Pride. Also, while I'm taking a week off, let me know what sorts of animals you would like me to build habitats for next for this zoo. So any wetlands animals. We still need to do one for the Asian small-clawed otter. The spectacled caiman doesn't have a habitat. The wild water buffalo and the Nile lequi need habitats. So you could pick one from those, or any other animal that kind of likes water, like swimming. And any ideas for specific habitat builds as well. You know, I like doing things that are really unusual, kind of wacky, but even if you want to try and challenge me into doing something that's a little bit more natural, I'll give it a go. I can't say that I would stick to it though, because I might get a little bit bored. So I wanted to personalize and kind of customize these carts for the little market stalls. I wanted to cover the watermelon pattern. Wasn't really keen on that. It didn't go with the like food items that the stalls are. And I think these are really nice because they're so small as well. They would fit pretty much anywhere in a zoo. So they'll be really good for just dotting here, there and everywhere. Because I've made them small enough so that guests don't get too congested in this area. But they'll be pretty good for like in between habitats as well, if you want to dot these in the spaces of some habitats for your own zoos. And I'm keeping these completely base game as well, so I'm not using any DLCs for these little market stalls. I'm using Riceys or Riceys, I never know how to pronounce it, custom font, tiny font, and I'll link that in the description. And I'm just creating the signs for each one of the market stalls. I just did all of the writing for the signs all at once, so then I could just have them ready and customize each little market stall separately then afterwards. And I wanted to make an entrance sign for the pier, and I wanted it to be a nice big curved shape. So I used these curved signs as a template to create the right sort of shape that I wanted. But I'm not going to leave it like that, of course. But I've gone with the Planet Zoo panels again, so the wood texture all matches in with the path barriers. And it's kind of beachy as well. You kind of have like driftwood. And because it's like a light wood colour as well, it kind of looks like it's been washed out with the salt or the sunshine. So it's kind of been bleached as well. It's kind of like driftwood, right? Oh, and I think this is quite a fun trick with the advanced move tool. If you want to duplicate an item at exactly the same angle as something else, if it's not quite aligning to a surface, if you duplicate using advanced move, which is Control X, and then select a different item, the other item will be at the exactly same angle as the item that you originally clicked Control X on. So it helps with aligning things really neatly. I wanted the sign to have like an outline around it with a smaller piece of wood paneling. So I just duplicated the flat wood paneling, and then I selected a different panel of wood, and then it was at exactly the same angle as the original panel. And I just decided to call this the Wetlands Pier, because the market isn't supposed to be like a permanent thing. That's kind of like the canon with this anyway, the story behind it. The market's not a permanent part of the pier, but the pier itself is always there. So it's just the Wetlands Pier, because this zoo is the Wetlands Safari Park. And I kind of curved the writing around the sign, kind of like how I curved the writing around the sign to the zoo entrance as well. This pier is not just for the market. I wanted to give the guests some seating as well, so they could sit down on some picnic tables after grabbing their hot dogs and their sweet snacks. And I wanted it to be like a nice wood texture as well, and still a little bit flexi colour to keep in with the nice pops of colour. So I picked the New World tables, made the edges of those tables the nice bright orange colour, and the umbrellas the turquoise blue. So we get the different pops of colour around on the seating too. And I used these umbrellas on the beach habitat for the last video for the California sea lions. So their beach has those umbrellas on the beach as well as like sun parasols. So it all ties in nicely together that way too. I wish we could advance move tables. The restaurant tables you can advance move, but the picnic tables you can't. And I really wish we could. There's a mod to do it, but I wouldn't want to fuss with mods too much. I wanted to add some signs around the market stall as well for what the counter is. So this one's going to be the Cosmic Cow Milkshakes. And I put the like standing sign next to it because that's like a really common thing on like seaside shops. Usually it'll be like the 99p signs for like the ice creams. It's kind of why I went with milkshake. And I thought I would use the tassel draping as fairy light strings as well. So I used the New World light bulbs, like the individual ones, so I could space them out and put as many as I wanted on the string. I didn't need the string because it was already kind of there. And I kept the lights in a separate group as well, so I could duplicate them individually onto each one of the market stalls, because I knew selecting these little lights would be really tricky to do individually to duplicate across all 4 of the market stalls. And Bernie's Bake signs are completely different to the rest of the signs because it's like a new thing, and they don't necessarily match with each other, which is really frustrating when you have 3 that match and then Bernie's Bakes is like nah. So I had to change around like the way I decorated this last stall, which I'm glad I got it on the end so I can ignore that one a little bit. As you can probably tell, I like things that match. I like things that feel consistent, so I use the signs in different ways for this one. I did the large sign on the top, and then I used the smaller sign of the little cupcake, and I just duplicated that to have 3 little cupcakes across and had them at a cheerful little angle. And to bring some more light to the pier as well. I've done some fairy light strings, you know, like this, like strings of fairy lights, but I'm matching it in with the pier by using the Planet Zoo wooden supports in the same beige colour. But there's all the fairy lights on the outside, just lining the barriers, but I didn't think it lit up the area enough, and I wanted this to feel like a festival, really fun and vibrant and colourful. So I decided to do some crossing, like V-shaped parts going over the path as well as on the edge of the barrier. And the like V-shaped ones kind of crossed into some of the market stalls, but I'll delete the pole that's going through the center of the market stall, so it just looks like the lights are attached to the top. I figured to blend in the benches, the bins and benches on the pier to the entrance building at least, I would add some of the smaller benches and the bins on the paths connecting the entrance to the pier. And for spacing, I just used the path barriers as a reference. So I centered the bench in the center of the path barrier pattern. So like you had the vertical supports and the horizontal supports. So I just centered the benches and the bins in the center of the supports. But for now I'm gonna leave it off there. Just to reiterate, I will be taking a break next week from speed builds. Might do a show, I might not, I don't know. The week after I have my break, I will be back doing fun builds for this zoo, or maybe a standalone Pride themed build because it's Pride month. As always, leave me some suggestions for any animals to build habitats for and any habitat styles you would like me to do for those animals. Preferably something that likes water, like swimming, will chill in water, like a Japanese macaque. That might work. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload speed builds on Wednesdays and shorts on Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!